Okay. Hi guys.
Hi Tracy.
Hello, you all right?
Yeah, I'm glad I'm glad you stopped vaping and decided to take up smoking again. That's good.
Yeah. All good.
Smoking's all good.
Well,
Never been to hell.
over here they seem to be promoting vaping horrendously, and they're going to get rid of smoking, which is just disgusting. The fact is that there's obviously someone's got a financial interest in vaping, because there's in Tuakau now, there's 3 or 4 or 5 outlets that do vaping, and just a small town in Pukekohe, Auckland, that all got huge vaping places that you can buy vaping. No one's realizing how dangerous that stuff is. It's that liquid. It's got plastic in it. Anyway, I've had lots of complaints.
We've got loads of shops.
Yeah, I remember when it first came in.
Yeah, but they've got a lot of money in it. There's a lot of interest.
Sorry, Casey.
Yeah, we tried it. We ended up being mega allergic to it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Then we realised what was in it.
So we stopped taking it straight away. It's propylene glycol, which is basically antifreeze.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants to know more, there's a Facebook page called Propylene Glycol Intolerance. I've put all my findings of that vape juice in there.
Yeah. Well, I've if I walk past someone exhaling this stuff, it just gives me a massive headache, and I instantly get nausea. It's really, I'll end up being sick after a while, because I get an intolerance and it just builds up, and then next minute I can't handle it at all. But it's extremely toxic, and I don't know how people can use it. Anyway, back to the basics. What I'm trying to do is explain myself, because people don't have a comprehension of a news word, understand what I'm saying. And I'm trying to make this very simple. Now, there's a document, as we all know, it's called the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, which I've got a copy here because I've printed a few of them out for people, right? And people go, oh my God, it's the United Nations and they're a communist outfit, blah, blah, blah. Well, before you make comment, I suggest you read it. And then when they read it, they go, because I'm here in New Zealand, they go, oh, there's no Māori in here. Well, exactly, there's no Māori in there. And if we on our website, as we all know, we've got the historians, which is these people are incredible. They've proven that Māori didn't exist. So who signed the Treaty of Waitangi, and who signed the Hifokaputanga? And they're both, basically there was an X beside their signature, which means that X beside any signature is a registered signature. You're in agreement with a register that you've never even seen. And it's also an argument. Everyone's arguing over this. And again, we bring up the word Māori. Now, they've respelt the word Māori. They've got a hyphen above the A. And it's, to me, it's the government. The government are hiding behind this. And when you realise, New Zealand's one of the major traffickers, money launderers in the world, you've got to realise these players are hiding behind plain doors. One of them is, one comment was made to me about the military who are minding Jacinda. The moment she's in the car, she's talking to Helen Clark. Now, Helen Clark was exposed as a trafficker, human trafficking and drug importer way back by Ian Wishart. And she's still playing hide and seek in the background. These are seriously dangerous people. Anyway, so what we've done is I've kind of creating a bubble, and I'm using the declaration, and we took a long way around to get there, because I wanted to teach people who we are. Now, if you look at our graph here, our whiteboard, pre-done it because I can't do this thing live, I'm useless at it. Anyway, this word here is tanga te whenua. You'll see that there. Can you see that? Am I circling it? Tanga te whenua is everyone born here to this earth. And we have to bring that in. There are, I keep going, that's a New Zealand thing. Tanga te whenua, there is the history here is we all came from here, because it was Te Mana Nui a Kiwa, which was the basin, and it got taken out by an asteroid, and it's just sort of lost in the ocean, which goes up to Hawaii, scoops past Canada, Australia, and in the States as well. So there's a big triangle, and it's Te Mana Nui a Kiwa. And that is, he married all the oceans. So when you marry someone, you become a trustee or husbandry, and that means you are the caretaker of looking after all So he's doing the caretaker of all the oceans. And if you look at New Zealand's legislation, it says we are all the water, including all waters, which means it's only the water. And then if you go into the legislation of New Zealand, you'll see customary law seems to be the water. Okay, well, going back to the Indigenous Declaration, you'll see that it is customary law. And it's written by very clever people from the UN as well, just so you know, but also relatives of Field Marshal Monga, who basically they're the ones that ate cook. Now, the reason in general, it was basically considered a soul food, but the reason they ate cock is because they could shit him out afterwards. That's how bad he was. He was basically considered as feast. And that's their history, right? So his story, their story. But no one knows. I wasn't there. I only heard this. Okay, so we'll go back to this again, our circle. Now we're creating a bubble in the Law Council. We need to create this bubble, and it's worldwide. It's not just here in New Zealand. So you will not hear the word Maori or Australian or Indian or anything else in our conversation. You will only hear peoples with an S and lands with an S. And the reason you will hear peoples with an S and lands with an S is land, the stuff here, land is paper. Maori land seems to be white paper, just so you know. And then we have peoples with an S, because I think President Carter turned corporations into people, and you've got we the people, and the word the there doesn't sound right. There was a couple of documents done in New York to prevent the removal of people from their homes, and they went we comma the people. And Anna Van Wright, which I've read her documents. I'm not very, I don't like what she writes, so it doesn't ring well, but she goes we are people, but it's all about proper English. Anyway, so we're tanga te whenua, we're all tanga te whenua. And that's not a Maori word, it's Te Reo. And remember, none of our words were ever put on paper. It was always spoken within and communicated that way. Then we have in the court, non-resident settler. And it's very interesting what's happening with non-resident settler in courts. They are tending to, the registers are not stamping off on these. And then you have Indigenous peoples, and then you got lands. Now that there, the reason we got Indigenous people is because of this wonderful little document called the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Now I suggest everyone reads it. It's not that, it's just thick. That's how thick it is. Okay, it's customary law. And it says there, you have the right. So we have the right to create this bubble, and that's what we're doing. And the more people create this bubble and stay within the bubble and demand that this legal system here submit to you with their claim, the better. So here we go. This bubble, this wall here is the Law Council. And the Law Council is lands, air, water. We are lands, air, water. In law, there's a term, a Latin term, which is non-incola, I think it is, I-N-C-O-L-A, I might be wrong, but it means in law. No, we're not in law, we are lands, air, water. We never needed law. We never did. We've not, people are not evil. Okay, we're not evil. We never needed laws because we've always been nice to each other. We've always cared for each other. We've always created and helped each other create and gone, oh my God, that's wondrous. I'd love to show me how to do this. And I've done this. And we shared stuff. That's who we are. And this is our heaven on earth. Unfortunately, some greedy people came along and they decided that we're going to try out greed. And we all must have agreed to it because here we are stuck, not able to get out of it. So that's what it is. So we got this bubble here is real. Okay. So earth in a bubble, we're keeping it to lands, air, water. We are tanga te whenua, non-resident settler, and Indigenous peoples, lands. That's our real world. Okay, you'll see there's no money in here. Now, yeah. We have now, so when we create this bubble, which is our wall, our bubble, right, which we're allowed to do in this declaration, it says perfectly well. And if you read it, you will see that all these governments are doing it for themselves calling themselves Indigenous Maori, Indigenous Australian, Indigenous Indians, sustainability, climate change. They're all bringing these things in and putting themselves in a bubble and trying to drag us.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be jammed.
Sorry about that. Back again.
Back again.
You're back.
You can't think why the Wi-Fi would cut out. Anyway, completely forgot. It's been about half an hour or so.
Stealth bomber above your head. You ain't got a big dark triangle above your house at all, have you?
Oh, well, yes, but I do have when two of us are together, we seem to have a lot of interference. Anyway, so we come back to this again. So this is our earth in a bubble. That's people's lands, because you've got to use the right language. If you look at the websites or the governments, they've used people and they've used land, and they've gone Indigenous Australian and Indigenous Maori and Indigenous Indian and territory, Indigenous territory, but nothing says Indigenous peoples. So if they're getting funding from the UN, which usually this is what creates funding, that would be wrong. And all they've done is used Indigenous and forgotten about everything else. The word Indigenous does relate back to the UN more than anything, but Indigenous also means it's an interpretation within yourself. So because we've got one world order, and I keep saying, I'm sorry, because we have one world order, everyone's from the one place, which is Earth. We're all one. And if we realize that, then you realize how important it is to actually comprehend what this declaration has done for us. And the corporations are adopting it, which they can't. They cannot be Indigenous, and they certainly can't do what they're doing at the moment. Now, we here in the Law Council have declared and notified that there is no climate change. Climate change is an event, and that's insurance fraud, and they're creating events for insurance claims. And if you look at the IRS, you'll see that's what they're doing, right? And then you've got, because you look at all these, New Zealand, we've got councils, and they have EIN numbers, employee identification numbers. Why have they got those for the IRS if it's not true? Everything has been paid for because there is an insurance policy that was taken out 9 months prior to your birth, and use the word birth because before you were born, 2 different words, by the way. And what happened was your mum and dad informed of a death, which was the placenta, your oldest twin. And your oldest twin has been looking after you because they created an insurance cover, a live life claim to look after you. Then you've got the legal practitioners, or the legal world, or the fictitious world that has created debt. We're the creditor. So they've created a debt so they can siphon, leech off anyone that's producing. And at the moment, climate change is a really good siphon, and COVID seems to be dying at the moment, when literally about 90% of the world's population will be as well. And it's a legal thing, therefore it's okay. Just so you know, lawyers have quoted that. One of them is Claire Boydeman from the trustees, Steiner Williams Trust Limited or something, SWL in Auckland. Oh, it's legal. We can commit fraud. Law Society will confirm that, and also if you look on our website you'll see a few other things because it's their words. Anyway, we'll start back again. The legal system is a fictitious, a lie, and what they're doing is they're creating claims, and the claims that they've got to do, and we're going to use the word claims, we're not going to use the word defendant, plaintiff, can't think of any other ones, but there's a whole bunch of them. Not going to use any of those, we're just going to use claims. Man makes a claim. So they make claims, and they have to make a claim, and they go to the Law Council. Now, the Law Council is everyone, and everyone in the world goes up against the Law Society. So the Law Society has to have a genuine, lawful claim, factual with evidence, a proper claim, and it goes to the Law Council, and the Law Council will determine if it's real. Because we actually have to be competent. We actually got to go, okay, we're going to take responsibility for ourselves. If we don't, we're not doing this properly, because it actually breaches the declaration. So what we do is we go, okay, let's see your evidence and your facts, because we're saying this because New Zealand police have been caught out so many times on a thing called a statement from facts, summary of facts. And clearly that is a summary without facts. We have a summary from facts. So they had to come up with the evidence and the facts, not a fictitious story. We're told that also that the Crown entities are immune to using war weapons, and that's by lawyers. So why are we using lawyers? So they have to go into the Law Council with their claim, and we will deem if it's a valid one or it's not. And if it's not a valid claim, we will charge them for wasting our time. So that's what the Law Council is. It's us protecting us. So the bubble is lands and also peoples. And we can deem the whole world as Indigenous peoples' lands because that's what the Declaration has done. So everything is Indigenous peoples' lands. So what we must do is make this legal system, this fictitious system, submit to the Law Council before it can say, I have a title on this land, or we own it, the banks own it because there was a mortgage. Now, there's been too much evidence and facts to prove there was never any money lent. It was a signature, and what interest they have. They have no interest in our equity. There are things that we're putting together at the moment, which is deeds, and the deeds are on land marked different, and the land marked different clearly is obviously Indigenous peoples, but it's also could be allodial, it could be anything but legal. And we go but, so it's not legal. We shouldn't use the word but either, but so what we're doing, I mean, I don't like to use the word lawful. I just think we have a claim, it's a deed claim, and we have a quit claim. And the other quit claim to that is also the power of attorney. No legal system has power of attorney over any of our Indigenous peoples or their lands, none. And if anyone wants to make a claim against that, because I've just stated it, you will have to email us or contact us with your counterclaim and proof. So this has been going out as a public notice. So this is our bubble, and this is our shield and our wall to protect everything within that as per the declaration, which is United Nations. Everyone's accepted it. So we must accept that, which is actually brilliant. It's also the, if you read it, you'll see that it's basically the, what do you call it? And I keep forgetting, Bill of Rights. So yeah, so just have a look at what we've done here. You'll see that the Law Council is your bubble. Here, it goes to here. The legal system it can penetrate because it can only ask the bubble, but it can't go past here. And this is the Law Council, the whole thing, because we are the Law Council and we are lands, air, water. That's what we are. And so they can't own it. That would be slavery. And this is our bubble. All right, let's protect it. Okay.
Can you just explain again what Tangata Whenua means?
Tangata Whenua is,
please, if that's all right.
It's a huge, huge thing, but it's basically you're born here, you're born from the lands, and it's a spiritual thing as well. So you're connected to everyone. Tangata Whenua is connected worldwide. You've got other terminology, which is te reo, but we don't like to use the term Māori, because Māori, as we all know, came in the 1947s. And that's why we should look at the historian work that we've got on our website, because those two people, Wayne and Tanya, they went into Parliament and declared treason on the MPs, and they should have been hung that day, all of them. The evidence is there. And why is it we make a claim to the people that are causing the harm and then in charge that's protecting themselves? Look at Australia, Karen Brewer, she has got them on the list that they've been hiding for the pedophilia that's going on within their own parliament. And yet they're our leaders. New Zealand's own child protection rings, they're all protected by themselves. They do police checks on everyone that's looking after the children in Oranga Tamariri, Riki, or whatever they call themselves. The reason they do that, obviously, is to keep them in that same bubble of the child trafficking. Because they're not allowed to play sports, these fostered children. Well, if they can't play sports, how do they know what a normal family is? There's a lot.
Why can't they play sports?
because they're not checked. They've got to have a police check. Now, I do realise there are a lot of genuine families that are looking after, but they're being attacked by these so-called administrators of OT, which is Arima Tamariki. And you're thinking, you know, because I've looked at one case recently, and then I got some information. I thought, oh shit, they are protecting their own. They're not protecting the children. They're protecting their own.
Did you say as well the child trafficking laws are a bit lax in New Zealand?
Well, in Wishart exposed Helen Clark, but nothing happened. He's also exposed the lawyers. I mean, we all know the lawyers protect the secret because it's fictitious. The legal system is a lie. So we're all going to the legal system and we know it's a lie. So are we not committing fraud as well? So the less people, the moment you stop using lawyers and you stop allowing them in your little clubs, because if you look at New Zealand, I don't know what you guys are like, but New Zealand, we've got things like Sue Gray, lawyer. You've got Voices for Freedom, lawyers. You've got Brian Tamaki, I dare say he's lawyers, but he's religion. And clearly, it's looking more and more obvious that someone's paying for him to be there, and he's well paid. And then you've got the common law assemblies, right? Well, there's lawyers involved in that. So you're dealing with lawyers who are controlling the narrative. And what I found really offensive was that there were farmers in this group that I was in last week, and maybe 2 weeks ago, and the farmers had no protection. They wanted to set up a whole sustainability of their own farming, blah, blah, blah. You could have 6 farmers in that group which needed protection. And by the way, we will have an agreement with farmers that say this: if you're not to have anything that will cause harm or poison our lands or our peoples. So therefore that will breaches our rights, because you're not going to cause harm or injury. So therefore that voids the contracts that they have with any legal entity, any corporation. And by doing that, because all contracts are void for vagueness, because no one had a proper interpretation, so it's gone. They don't owe them anything. And they need to know that. And they need to get in the bubble, and they need to bring the Law Council in to cope them with protection. It's just, it's so simple. We just read the declaration. It's definitely simple, and we make it simple. But
it's like a shield for everybody.
Well, it does say in there that you have full power over your autonomy as well.
Yeah.
Which is really good. Which is really good for all of this, because obviously it's registered in the UN. Well, I know that means nothing. But you can pull it out and go, hold on a minute, what's this?
Yeah.
360 corporations, companies have accepted this, right? So by accepting it, they've agreed to the terms. The terms of this, and basically you cannot remove any Indigenous peoples from their lands. So that's why mark different. It's lands. It's got nothing to do with you. LIMS here have already realised that they know, because I rang them up and I asked them, you don't have a record for Indigenous people's lands. They were in conference for 3 hours before they rang me back, and then they still haven't rung me back, and they told me I have to go and see them.
So you've still not heard from that?
The Māori Land Court have no authority at all. They have no authority. It's just that people go there for arguments, and I just go, why are you at the Māori Land Court? All you're doing is tai-tukering in the bullshit. Get out of it. And you've got family arguing over land. Well, get on it and use it. You've allowed corporations to just bulldoze your trees down. Oh, now take your cows out, put trees up, claim carbon credits, and the carbon credits you're never going to get. It's not money. So you've given away your food, put trees on your land, and done nothing. You've got nothing for it, and and then running around and got all vaccinated. And you're all proud of, we got all our people vaccinated. That's the iwi, who are just a corporation, who have been notified by me personally that you need to turn up with the financial records or you've been terminated. The trusts have been terminated because they didn't turn up with the financial records. You must have a fiduciary duty that you have to comply to. You haven't done it. You've failed. You're gone. You're terminated. You owe a certain group $15 million for one forestry block, which you can't even turn up with. $15 million going missing for a small forestry block over 20 years is substantial, especially to the people that you've taken it from. They've given the water away. So the bore water here, they've been giving the rights away to the bore water. One's up north is the avocado farm. Down here it's all the new homes in Pocono, which $1 million homes that were not worth more than 50,000. down here, but they're all entitled. The titles to them are people that you can't. They're not even English letters in the words. This is here. So is New Zealand money laundering? The houses are built substandard, and you've got more than five times more people living in their cars from New Zealand, born in New Zealand, thousands in motels. So they've made all the New Zealanders homeless, provided all this housing on growing houses on growing land. So they're planting houses, which they shouldn't be putting there. This is lawyers just ticking boxes in the council, and boom, making a lot of money for themselves. The Pairata Wesley College, that's tangata whenua land in the 1840s was gifted. 1970s they gave it to registered proprietors, which means they could sell it, but that wasn't tangata whenua, that was Crown, that was lawyers making that deal. And then in 2017, around that time, the gift went back to the owners, the Auckland Council. They didn't exist in 1840. So who's in the council being the owner and the owner being the trustee? But they sold it, 4,500 homes, $1 million each, and a school. So where's the money? Oh, it's in a trust now. Oh, it's just, and I just told all these people, go and ask for your keys. If you whakapapa there, go and ask for your keys. It's made on your interest. It's more than you get a bunch of you. They're going to be very afraid because they've built houses on with your interest on your lands for themselves.
I've seen it because you took us for a drive, didn't you?
Yeah.
Big houses, taking a lot of land up. Yeah.
Most of those titles, again, you can't speak the language.
Yeah. Well, while you're here, have you heard anything from the UN at all, Tracy?
No, I haven't yet. That, eh? Yeah.
We've heard nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Now 6 email addresses.
6 emails.
Only one has replied yesterday.
Yeah.
And then she hasn't replied since.
Yeah. So, well, but this is our public notice. See, we actually speak. They interpret. They type down. And we speak. Now, I did that in court. I've proven that. I spoke to the register in their customer inquiry. It's a bit like a bank of court, isn't it? And that went up straight up to the judge, to the register up there. The judge read it and they stopped an automatic protection and restraining order on a mother that they stole children off. And she was at that stage, she had an international hackers ring that was exposing the government. So they got at her. One of the partners in crime, well, she hadn't done anything wrong, but he disappeared and we assume that he's been killed. That was a couple of years ago. So, there are people out there that do extraordinary things. They go a little bit mental, but they definitely are on the right track. But the Maori, using the term Maori, it's not in the declaration, so don't use the term Maori because the government has stolen it, the legal system has stolen that, and they created it. So look on our website because our historians, like I forgot to tell you, again, went into Parliament in 2016, shook the hand of Winston Peters, was told not to say treason, but they did say it 3 times, and the Parliament MPs, ministers for Parliament, all pointed the finger and giggled at each other. And then within a month, they'd written a very short document poo-pooing the facts. And the Parliament had stolen military land. We do have an easy fix for that, just so you know. And it's not a legal fix, is what we get entitled to do. So, we've asked for the order for the gallows. We've ordered the gallows.
You did as well, didn't you?
We're waiting on that because we have every right to.
Have you heard anything on that at all?
Oh, God, no, it's Parliament.
If anyone wants any more info on that, it's on the website under more info, soldiers claim.
Yeah.
There's a link to Wayne's website. A few bits on there's a link to Wayne's website.
Brilliant work. I've got to say, brilliant work.
Very, very thorough.
Yeah, we spoke to them. We had a 2-hour chat with him, didn't we?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, we're going to do a podcast at some point.
We did have a word with him about doing a podcast.
Oh, did
and he says, "Yeah, cool." So we'll do that one evening.
Yeah.
Or morning. I don't know. It's just one long day now, isn't it?
Yeah. So So I'm.
The thing is, it's like when you told us about this, and it makes sense. We're all Indigenous and we're all born here, and that's basically it, really.
It doesn't matter what color you are. You don't have to have a bone in your nose. I mean, this is what they were promoting. You got to be really, honestly, we must be really stupid. But clearly we're not. And people know it resonates with a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are just like I said, people that have studied Crown and Maori for 17 years and, you know, telling me this is bullshit. Well, there's no Maori in this document or terminology, Maori terminology, you know, sovereignty, whatever. No, there isn't, because it's worldwide, and Maori is only in a small part. And only if you want to term yourself as Maori, you're only in a small part of the world. And we need to be one in the one world order, whatever. We are one, and use it. You know, play the game.
Yeah, this document was created for everyone, everywhere.
Yeah, it was.
No matter what you look like.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
Yeah, but no,
you can really tell reading it, can't you?
You can tell it wasn't written by the corporations. Let's put it like that. The corporations aren't allowed to mess with you. I thought, well, they've not wrote it.
Yeah, so we've termed the Law Council as no legal. There's no legal here. There's no lawyers. There's no politicians. There's nothing like that at all. It's just Indigenous peoples, and you know, we have the right to trade, and we can trade any way we like. At the moment, if we're using their money, we can deem their money as to be the only way, because of their system. We'll use their money, but they can't touch us, because that's what they've captured it. They've actually created the problem for us, and we can fix that eventually, which will get fixed. Just, you know, we've got horrendously clever people, horrendously clever, and they're the ones that are going to come up with the system. And I just hope that more people share this and be able to go, look, this is so easy, let's do this, instead of being prejudiced about it, because it is the United Nations, but we can fix that as well, because the United Nations, if they've created it, we can fix this, and we can take out the wonderful, what do they call themselves? Economical, was it forum, economic forum? What is that?
Oh, them lot.
Oh, World Economic Forum.
Yeah,
World
Economic Forum, you know, and those people, yeah, we all know what they are. And, you know, like I said, of our military people who are watching, you know, they take orders, which is incredibly, I understand that. I've spoken to a few of them, a few CEOs of the Navy, you know, yes, we know we get paid, but they pay our wages. Well, that's that important, you know, your job is to protect peoples, not people, and the people is the corporation. Yeah. Oh, well, if you need to take a substance or have be entertained by small children, well, why would we want to know them?
Exactly.
Yeah. Simple, eh? See? Now that is easy.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Tracy. Much appreciated.
Yeah, lovely. Maybe we should make that into a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Don't worry. All right, Tracy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, lots of love.
Lots of love.
See you in a bit. Bye.
Bye.